Florida's coaching search is a big deal, but would Florida fans accept anything other than an elite P4 coach coming to Gainesville?
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
This crossover edition of Locked On the Portal and Locked On Gators. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. I will be joined by Brandon Olson momentarily. We're going to discuss the transfer portal and recruiting with UF. It's been surprising, but since Billy Napier's departure from Gainesville, it's been pretty quiet. Is that going to continue? And if it does, why? But of course, the number one thing to discuss, who are the top candidates and which guys not only could end up in Florida, but the timing of it. There's a lot of things that go on with it that if it doesn't work right, your roster and again, recruiting could be impacted. We're going to discuss all that today on this Locked On crossover. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first ticket purchase. It is a great app. All right, let's get Mr. Brandon Olson, Locked On Gators host, on the show. Brandon, I'm guessing that it is never a dull moment in your life right now, being the host of Locked On Gators. With Billy's departure, I actually thought it would be a little more emergency pod kind of stuff. To my knowledge, nobody's hit the portal, at least not publicly. I'm sure there's a few that are thinking about it. Have they had a decommitment?
Nope. Which is, it's very interesting because
That's what I thought
national media felt like making it a big point. But LSU fired Brian Kelly last Sunday. And on Tuesday, national media on 3, they just came out and they were like, it's incredible. LSU hasn't had a decommit yet. Neither's Florida, but they didn't want to give Florida the pat on the back there. But it's okay. It's okay. That is. You guys do whatever you want to do. LSU super impressive. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, it's part of the world, man. Everybody's got bias and favorites, so it is what it is. At the same time, we all know that Lane Kiffin's top of the board. There's discussion about Eli Drinkwitz I want to get to, and somebody you and I discussed prior to the show, Alex Golesh. I think he's a very impressive coach. But my theme today is based on Golesh. If they didn't get Kiffin or Drinkwitz or fill in the blank with an elite P4 coach, would Florida fans melt if they had to go the G6 route again? I mean, Billy, for those who don't remember, Billy was Louisiana Lafayette. Was very successful. He was the top G5 coach at that time, now G6. What do you think? Would Florida fans just have a meltdown? Because they're known to do that a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yep. No doubt in my mind. Yep. No doubt in my mind. If Alex Golesh, which again, I've been very open about this. I think if you go the G5 route, it should be Alex Golesh. I think he's got the best G5 resume. In terms of, like 3 years of head coaching experience is not ideal. No one wants that. But he's got SEC coordinator ties, state of Florida ties, offensive mind, which I think a lot of Florida Gators fans want all 3 of those things if you can get that. Some head coach experience isn't ideal, of course, but again, having at least some of it is good. I think that Alex Golesh is the top G5 candidate if it's there, but I do think that if you get to the G5 route, well, you've whiffed on quite a few names at that point.
Besides, again, the obvious, Drinkwitz, Lane Kiffin, who else would you say is, quote unquote, at least towards the top of the list for the brass in Gainesville?
Brent Key's up there. Brent Key out of Georgia Tech, hell of a coach. I think that hiring like coordinators, he hasn't really whiffed on those, which is very important for a guy that's not calling plays on either side of the ball, not known for that. Buster Faulkner's been his only OC, but that's been great. I don't think Buster Faulkner would come with him if he comes to Florida. I think Buster Faulkner would either get the head coaching job at Georgia Tech or
get another one somewhere else. He's great.
Yeah, or if Mike Bobo does decide to retire this year,
go back to UGA.
Goes back to Georgia as their OC, where he was previously. So he's got that experience there. Jeff Brom's a name that I don't think enough people talk about in sense of whether or not he's a good coach. I think he's a great coach. And I think it was Gators Online with On3 reported that Jeff Brom would be open to hearing about the Florida job. I don't know how open he'd be to leaving his alma mater. Which is also one of my concerns with Brenke. It's my concern with every guy where we go, oh yeah, that's his alma mater. I go, well, for some guys, it's really important to win at your alma mater. And I believe that Lincoln Riley would also be on the list fairly high up for the Florida Gators administration right now. Not a huge fan of that one.
He is the most overrated coach in major college football. So if he is hired, by the way, the buyout would be insane, but that's another story. How long do you think they'll wait on Lane? Because barring something completely unforeseen, they're going to playoff. It's not even out of the realm they could be in a bye. It's tenuous, but it's possible. Which
we'll see what happens. I know they got the Citadel coming up, which is, I don't know how you get by that one. But Ole Miss is going to, for the second year in a row, lose to Florida. So there's going to be that.
Oh, really? You're calling that now?
Yep. Jeff Lebby broke the seal with an SEC win this past weekend, so maybe he gets another one at some point. I don't know. I will say we've seen Lane fold late season before, right? We've seen that happen.
That's true.
I think that Florida would wait patiently for Lane for a little bit, but I also do think that he might want to make a decision before they get into the actual college football playoff. And so I know that everybody goes, oh, well, what if they make this run and Lane wants to stay there while they're going on this run and then you miss out. I feel like Lane Kiffin would probably make a decision before the college football playoff. Get that out, get that drama out, get all that nonsense out. He's already had to address his team about the rumors about the Florida contract offer. And so I do think that Lane would probably make a decision before the college football playoff. So maybe not need to wait that long. Because again, like people say, well, what if they make the playoff? Would you wait for him in the playoff? I don't think he'd wait that long. I think he would have a decision and he would announce it by then.
My question is, would the people in Oxford, if let's say Lane decided he wanted the UF job, just for sake of argument, if he let them know, would they allow him to coach Ole Miss? That gets into that really awkward point because this is the timing of the playoff. Yeah. This is not a Florida problem. This is everybody in college football problem, even for coaches that are assistants or coordinators. Everybody wants to coach the playoff. I mean, I would. So I wouldn't blame Lane if he wanted to go to UF, but at the same time, he's still human. You'd want to try to represent Ole Miss. That could be very awkward. So we'll talk more about that on the other side. But this is a very interesting discussion. Will Kiffin end up sticking with Ole Miss? That is next here on this crossover edition of the Portal and Gators. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride out the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything for who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, thank you once again for making Locked On Gators and Locked On the Portal a part of your day each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Brian Smith, joined by Brandon Olson. And Brandon, how hard do you think it's going to be to convince Kiffin to head to coach the Gators? Like, it's pretty obvious that he's the number one guy on the board. So what do you think about that? Is it going to be really hard, or is this just one of those things we just don't know?
I don't know how much you need to convince him. I think that, when people throw out these dollar figures and they go, oh, well, you would need this much to get him from Ole Miss. I don't know how true that is. I think Lane's at a point in his career where I think it's simple. If you want to win a national championship as a head football coach, you leave Ole Miss. because it's not happening at Ole Miss. You're not going to have the guys to go up against everyone. You're not going to be able to do it. So if you want to win a national championship, it's not happening at Ole Miss. I'm not, and I know every time I say that, Stephen Willis of Locked On Ole Miss goes, well, if it's so easy to happen in Gainesville, why hasn't it under the past 4 head coaches? Which is great. I've never said it was easy to win in Gainesville. I said if he wants to win a national championship, got to leave Oxford, Mississippi. I think Florida gives him a great spot to do that, would make him probably the highest paid coach in college football history, would have all those Florida athletes available, would have the current roster. I think that of any coach that can retain as much of this roster as he wants, it's Lane Kiffin. I don't think that there are many players that are going to say, yeah, I don't want to play for Lane. If you're an offensive player, you want to play in that offense. And if you're a defensive player, you want to play with the safety blanket that is that defense, or that is that offense. So other than that, for Lane, if you want to win a national championship, then leave Oxford, Mississippi.
I think you could win it at Ole Miss, but it's got to be just the inside straight. It's obviously easier at Florida. It's really not that comparable. I've lived in Florida. The amount of talent that's within a 3-hour radius of Gainesville is insane. That includes Tampa. That includes Orlando, the Space Coast, Jacksonville, and the North public schools and the north part of the state too. There's just random schools everywhere that Florida's always hit. The talent's insane. That doesn't even count the Panhandle, and that doesn't even count South Florida, like Fort Myers and, of course, Fort Lauderdale and Miami. Yeah, it's a pretty easy gig. Again, it's still a timing issue for me. I don't know what Lane and his family, you got to remember, he's got multiple daughters at Ole Miss. His wife just moved back into town. They're back together. I have no idea what that means, but she's a Gator.
Who's she related to? Florida. Interesting. Just saying.
Yeah, I know. She attended UF and all that. So I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent to Lane, because he beats to his own drum. I mean, there ain't no doubt about that. But it's not like his daughters couldn't transfer, or, I mean, they've got the money to do whatever. They can fly to go see him.
Great education in Gainesville. All I'm saying.
It is a good public school. It is a good public school. Let's shift to UF recruiting. Since the situation with Billy, have they been trying to get guys on campus? How have they been doing that? Because it's always awkward to me, and I don't think there's a great answer for this. But do you bring in kids for visits without a head coach? Like, how do you do that? Like,
I think their focus right now is just trying to retain as much of the talent as is currently committed to Florida. Okay. And that should be the focus. Like, I think it's really tough to tell kids that aren't committed to Florida, or that are committed elsewhere, not committed at all, whatever it may be. I think it's really tough to go, hey, you still want to come here with a staff that we know the overwhelming majority of them, if not all of them, will not be back here, at least coaching staff wise. Who knows what's going to happen personnel wise, but coaching staff wise, we know the overwhelming majority of them will not be back in Gainesville. Hasn't been officially announced yet, won't be officially announced until there's a new head coach hired to make that decision, but not very common that there are a lot of holdovers in the SEC. And so I think that right now guys on the staff are just focusing on, hey, this is still a great program. Like, this is still a great university. This is still a place where you'd want to go, and the opportunities available to you at the University of Florida, not going to find that everywhere. And so I think that right now that's what the current staff is doing, is just trying to hammer home that this is still a great program to play for. And honestly, like, I don't know what those personal conversations are coming off like, but I would say look at the talent on this roster and know that they're probably, like, I don't think this is going to be some mass exodus. I really don't think you're going to see that. You're going to lose probably like 15, 20 guys ish, but you're not going to lose all the top guys. You're going to be able to keep, especially some of the young talent from the most recent recruiting classes. You're probably going to be able to keep those guys. And so I think that you can look at this roster and say, again, like, they're not winning these football games, but they're going toe-to-toe with teams that everybody is saying, oh, they're significantly better than Florida. Look at the record. They lost by 4 to number 5 Georgia with a few controversial calls, and no one cares about moral victories, right? But really, the whole offseason, my shtick about this team was just, this is a college football playoff caliber roster. Coaching needs to catch up to the talent. The reason that this team doesn't have more wins is poor coaching. It's not the talent that's not working out. It's poor coaching, poor development in some spots. that's what it is. You're going to have a new staff here, a ton of the talent coming back. Again, from what I think is going to happen, I do think that with the world of NIL, and you talk about the transfer portal, decommits, all that, I do think the world of NIL, for all the bad things it's brought, I do think that one of the good things is guys can be paid to stay. Like that's going to be a thing that's going to happen. Guys are going to be paid to stay, whether that's in a recruiting class, whether that's on the roster. And that's not me giving some insight about Florida. That's college football. That's going to happen. Guys are talented. We paid to get them here, pay to keep them there. And so I do think that when you have that investment, you can make things a little bit more enticing, especially, again, it's not as simple as coach is fired, I'm going to leave. Guys will have to make a decision of, I'm going to get paid regardless. Is this a coach I can see myself playing for? If so, then I'm cool with it.
To that end, I think that retaining talent is the most undervalued discussion point. I am sure that prominent SEC schools, Florida State, Alabama, Georgia, whatever, Dallas Wilson, guys like that, if they want to leave, they obviously can. You have to attain all the talent you can. You got to get all of it you can. But then you got to retain all that talent if anything goes wrong, and even if it's going right. I mean, it is what it is. So, very good point on that. When we come back, I want to discuss what are the needs, regardless if it's Kiffin, if it's Eli Drinkwitz. This roster still has some holes, and they're going to lose some key guys to the draft. We're going to talk about that next here on this crossover, Locked On Gators and Locked On the Portal. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. College football is as exciting as ever. It couldn't be more exciting. Tailgates, rivalries, and energy in the stands. There's nothing quite like being at a college football game. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the actual game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, and prices jumping out at you at checkout. That's why I use Gametime, where I literally just bought a couple of tickets to a basketball game and was in and out in 5 minutes. I didn't have any surprise fees. It was easy to navigate, and you could see your tickets right there on your screen from the place you're sitting to the court, like how far it was. It was easy with Gametime. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today. All right, Brandon, for this final section of the show, this is a really important question. Nobody wants to wait very long to win. Which spots do you think they're either A, like who's going to leave early for the draft? I'm sure there's somebody. B, what spot do they not only lose players, but okay, we got to fix this regardless of who the coach is. Give me the landscape for what they need to hit in the transfer portal this offseason.
I think you need to add some offensive linemen, which
everybody knows pretty much.
Yeah, and last year I said, hey, go get someone. They chose to not do that. That's fine.
Stupid.
You could shake your head. Yeah, you can shake your head all you want. They don't have jobs anymore, and part of it is because of that. It is. It's part of that is making a bad decision with personnel can crush you. This offensive line hasn't been good this year. You're going to lose Austin Barber to the NFL. You're going to lose Jake Slaughter to the NFL. And Austin Barber's had an awful year this year. But he's NFL bound. So you're going to lose Austin Barber. You're going to lose Jake Slaughter. Damian George at right guard. Right tackle has been a revolving door this year. So you got Najee Harris at left guard, who's been.
So they essentially got one guy coming back. That's not a good starting point, friend. Because
I mean, I think at right tackle you'll get Caden Jones back, but if he doesn't take some big developmental steps, like he's not an SEC starter quality guy right now. I do think he's your best right tackle. He's just not an SEC starter quality tackle.
How is that possible at Florida?
Rob Sales, our head coach, or Rob Sales, our head O-line coach. So, yeah, things like that happen to you at that point. But things like that happen. I think at receiver, we'll see what happens. I think that's one spot that guys are going to throw money at. Florida's done a great job recruiting receivers. I don't think they've done a great job developing them, but they've done a great job recruiting them. You'll have to see what happens with DJ Lagway, who has said he's not leaving, but people say things all the time that don't exactly end up being great. He also said, "I'm going to be better from here on out" after the USF game, and then he said it after the LSU game, and then he said it after the Miami game, and so we'll see what happens there. Defensively, I do think that there's going to be a good bit to replace, but I also feel like when you're in this state, some of it can be replaced more easily. Like at corner, you're going to lose Devin Moore to the NFL. He's had a great year. I don't think linebacker is going to see much loss there. Miles Graham being a legacy kid, like Vernell Brown III at receiver being a legacy kid. I do think Vernell Brown III could play a part in keeping Dallas Wilson. They are very good friends at this point, and so enticing to play together there. I think edge, you're going to have to keep Jaden Woods to be very important. I think that a lot of this roster is going to need to be retained, but I also think, safety can desperately use an upgrade, which another thing I said last year, should have gone to the portal to go add. DBs, you just need DBs. That's it. Defensive line, you're going to lose some guys to the NFL draft. You're going to get some guys back. Caleb Banks. People talk about Caleb Banks maybe coming back because he's only played basically 3 quarters this year before getting injured and missing the remainder of the season. And he was someone who finished 2024 strong. There was like first round media hype, but that was never actually happening if he went to the NFL draft. Then it was supposed to be come back this year, dominate, and get that first round draft pick. Then he got hurt 3 quarters into his season, which was the LSU game. And I don't think he comes back, and I don't think he should, honestly. Like at a certain point, you got to go, okay, well, if you come back for another year, that means that you're going to be, a 25-year-old rookie? That automatically hurts your draft stock. So you could have a great year, but if you're a 25-year-old rookie, that's going to hurt you with teams. And so I think that at this point, it's better off just go to a spot that wants you now, will develop you and get you right, and just take advantage of that opportunity. But I do think that, you're going to have to see a lot of talent brought into this roster. There's a lot of talent in here, but you're going to lose, again, like I said, 15, 20 guys. Got some going to the NFL draft. Yeah, it's going to be work, but I do think that if you can retain some of the top names, or if you can retain the starters, retain some of the young guys, and for once, an easy-ish schedule in 2026, comparatively for any team playing 9 SEC games. If you're going to make a run, it could start in 2026.
Okay. Which tight ends are back next year for the Gators? Allegedly.
I think, but I mean, look, we'll say this for the tight end room. Hayden Hansen has 1 more year of eligibility. Tony Livingston has 2, and Amir Jackson has a full 3. Scott Isaacs, I think, has 1 left. We'll see what they do as far as NFL calling. We'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens with the portal. But, I mean, it also matters who comes in, right? Because
that was my next question. Like, is there a spot they just got to get at least one dude where they got to spend? Like, is it because if you lose the big guy in the middle of your defense, like maybe everybody wants D tackles, though. Yeah. Is there anything else besides that they absolutely have to hit?
I think offensive line is the utmost importance. I know the issue with offensive line.
There's nobody in it.
Yeah, at every single level of football right now. Like, you look at the NFL, and there's 10 teams with good starting offensive lines. And then everybody's like, all right, this guy hasn't played football in a year, but he's 6'7", 320. Let's get him and see if he could work as a depth guy. Like, there's no development on the offensive line right now. It's awful. And part of that is the shift of guys that big have started going, hey, maybe I'll just play defense and I'll just wreak havoc on weak offensive lines. And guys being giants, being able to play other positions. It sucks. But offensive line is the thing you need to add. And I think secondary, you need to add just talent somewhere. I think you're going to lose a bit.
Okay. Well, I think that Florida is in a unique spot because, again, this is hypothetical, but if somebody that's a big name decided to come early December, for those that don't know, the portal this year is only 1 window. This is very important. That's why you need to get that coach early. Yep. If you want to have any hopes for next year, it's just true. it's January 2nd through January the 16th when anybody gets just a free-for-all portal. I'm just saying. I know you're thinking like I am. It doesn't go well for Florida. They hire after. Even if it's Kiffin, next year could be concerning. After that, they'd be all right. But 26 could be concerning. So I'm curious to see, because if they got Kiffin or somebody that's highly ranked, let's say December 15th, okay, you missed the unfortunate part of the recruiting window. That's December 3rd. That's probably not going to go well, but it is what it is. You could still make up for it, at least for 1 year, by hitting in the portal. Maybe you get the best offensive tackle. Who knows? In Lane's offense, it'd be easy to sell, but you need that name. And again, the timing with the playoff, every year we're going to have the same conversation. May not be with you, but everybody that's a big name school.
I hope to God it's not me every year. I don't want to do that every year.
But it seems like we've been talking about Billy getting fired forever. We knew year one there was a possibility the way that went. It was just a matter of time. But
yep.
So it is what it is.
Thanks, Scott Strickland. Appreciate you.
Is he going to be back next year? Is he done?
Yeah. He got an extension after the basketball national championship. So,
okay. Well, I'm sure you'll be at his next birthday party and Christmas party too, because you guys are chummy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's gonna happen. I'm going to be dancing on his pink slip whenever that gets signed. I'll do that.
Okay. But I still think Florida could be a very major player in the portal if they get the right. Same with LSU. Those jobs are pretty much parallel. It'll be interesting to see how that changes. Who got their name in the portal for UF or LSU? Oh, we got this guy's head coach. I'll go back to LSU or Florida.
Yep.
That's what I think. So, Brandon, tell everybody where they can find your work, my friend.
Locked On Gators every single day. I mean, through the coaching hire, we've been having multiple days with live shows in the middle of the day. After every basketball game, trying to, and after every football game, we're there.
Okay, man. I appreciate it. You can find the Portal Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and any other place you get your pods. And, of course, on YouTube. It is the place if you want the live show. So we will see you again soon here on the Portal Podcast and Locked On Gators.